Welcome back. That's right, new week, new video. This time we're looking at Happy Trails. Beautiful colorway, and I know I say beautiful a lot, but this one is a beautiful colorway. Lots of pinks, purple speckles. You really can't go wrong with this colorway. You really can't. Especially if you're looking for something, I would say even something like a little bit lighter. It's not as color intense as some of our other colorways. It's still very, very saturated, don't get me wrong, but we're going to go with something a little bit lighter this time. So into the pots, we're throwing a little bit of soak. Soak consists of some citric acid or some vinegar, just to bring down the pH of the pots to make sure that that acid dye adheres to the animal proteins. And I know I say that every week, but that's exactly what we're doing here. So this one here is going to be a low immersion. We don't have a whole lot of fluid in there. Across the top, we're going to throw this. It's kind of a pinky purple. It's got a little bit of pink to it, but you are pushing more towards like a dusty rose almost. Trying to keep it nice and light, but also give just a little bit of color there. So we got a little bit of pinky purple across the top. And across the bottom, we got something just a little bit lighter. On the bottom here, we're actually going more towards a pinky peach. So rather than adding a purple to the mix, we're adding just the tiniest bit of yellow to try and pull out the peach color from the pink. Now in the center, we're not actually going to put anything. This is a nice quick dye on the front. Everything is super duper light. This is kind of like I Don't Believe in Humans. It's really, really light on the front as well. But we're leaving a little bit of white on purpose on the front here. And yeah, basically get your fingers in there, get it mixed up. We don't have to cook this side for very long. We really don't. There's not a lot of dye in the pot here. We're just going for a little bit of saturation down through the yarn. And like I say every week, make sure that you're pushing that dye down. You want to make sure that you're dyeing at least 50% of the hank, 51% to be exact. You know, you need it to go at least halfway through so that when you flip these over, you can dye the other side, do the same thing, and we don't have to worry about some faded areas. So we're going to cook the front off here. We're only going to cook it for about 7 minutes, maybe 8, depending on how busy we get. But nothing too crazy, that's for sure. So now that we've got these cooked off, it's not going to be too hot, but still wear your PPE. Don't go in there barehanded. I know I used to once upon a time. Number one, you get a lot of dye on your hands and you go home and it never comes off. People honestly would ask me, you're a mechanic, aren't you? No. No, I just work with dye for a living. So make sure you got your PPE on, get some gloves on. Don't burn yourself. While we're flipping this yarn over, I do want to say a special shout out to Gary Moore, our video sponsor for today. He is our studio insider. So thank you very much for sponsoring this video. We do appreciate you more than you know. All right, now that we got those done up, we are going to puff up the middle. I don't know if that's actually the technical term, but that's the term I'm going to use. We puff up the middle, and basically what that allows us to do is put some darker dyes across the top and the bottom, and keep it nice and light in the center. Now, whether or not you're actually adding dye to the center or you're trying to keep it white, either way, that ridge kind of stops this darker dye from traveling further than we want it to. We want to keep that nice light spot in the center there. So we're going to throw a hot pink across the top. It does have a little bit of purple into it. It's not a true hot pink, but we really want lots of vibrancy on the back here. And then across the bottom, we are putting, again, a little bit of a darker peach. This is pushing a little bit more towards the she sells seashells kind of pink rather than a true peach in any way, shape, or form. So nice light colors, again, on the back. We don't want to push it too far. And then we're going to take and mix it up. So basically that ridge this time, although we usually put some dye in the center, we're just trying to keep the white in the skein itself. We don't want that pink overcrowding a little bit too far into the center. We want to keep that white spot. That's intentional there. So again, get your fingers in there, get it mixed up. We want to push this dye down as fast as possible because it is going to adhere to the yarn quite quickly, especially with your lighter colors. But we want to make sure we get that dye nice and deep, at least 51%. Now, this colorway has sprinkles. It's a nice, rich dark purple sprinkle. Very, very bright, very, very vibrant. Comes through in the end result really, really well. So I absolutely love going with some darker sprinkles. Usually I lean towards a chestnut, but in the pink here, we're going with a dye basically called grape juice. And it is a dry acid dye. We're going to take and sprinkle it onto each and every skein in 3 spots. And what that's going to do is it's going to concentrate. It's going to go a little bit deeper into the skein itself and really kind of pull that color out in a controlled way. Some of our newer colorways, we actually use like a salt and pepper shaker to spread the dye out. That works really, really well with some of the more granule dyes. Basically, if the dye is more like a sand, that works really, really well. But if you're working with like a powdery dye, like a mouse gray, it doesn't work at all. So all depends on really the consistency of the dye, whether or not it's a metallic dye or anything like that, and how it was constructed at the factory. So this one here, absolutely beautiful purple. You can see it coming through. This is grape juice, plum kind of color, and it really, really just, it saturates the yarn so well. We're gonna show you a swatch here real soon, and you'll see how that comes through. So we're gonna cook this off for a good long while, especially when you're looking at sprinkles, because they're highly concentrated. So you want to give it a good 15 minutes on that one side to really cook it through. So that's the purple and the pink coming through. Some of this is kind of hidden on the fingering weight. It's kind of tucked into the inside of the skein. But there is a lot of sprinkles in this colorway. You can really see how it breaks up into kind of a softer pink and a darker purple, and you really get a lot of texture in there. Sometimes it breaks out into a hot pink. Sometimes it's got a little bit of blue in it. Obviously, red, blue, you get purple. So when you're doing your sprinkling, keep in mind that it's not always going to be the same as a mixed dye, because you've got a whole bunch of different colors in there that are really going to take and come through. Especially with like chestnut, you're going to get some dark purples, some browns, some blues, and it's all going to come through. Same with this colorway, right? So you got that purple sprinkle in there, and it's going to take and break off into some blues, some pinks, some reds, and just really move all over the place. And different bases are going to pick up different colors differently. So now we're going to do that swatch. We're going to do it on the worsted weight. We do have a new machine here. So rather than using our drill, I ended up burning out my AliExpress, unfortunately. So it was time for a new one. And when I was picking up the AliExpress, I noticed they had an electronic device that you could actually hook to the side of your AliExpress. My hope is this is going to run a little bit slower and hopefully be a little bit more gentle than me running a drill on this machine. I know I had a comment the other day. They said if you grease up your gears, it's really going to take and make it go a lot further. I've been doing this for about 3 years. We've had hundreds of colorways, hundreds of swatches. I usually have to replace my machine about once a year. Now, the biggest issue I had with this machine is it was running really, really slow. Like, this is 1500%, so it's 15 times faster than real life. It was very, very slow. It wasn't something I could do a video on. My hope is the slower it is, and I've noticed that with the drill as well, the better it is for the gears of this machine. A little bit less heat. Everything's plastic. You really don't want to. You don't want to mess it with too much. So this is actual speed. You can see it going around. You can see those pinks and purples and blues coming through in those speckles. Absolutely stunning colorway. And yes, this was running on a high speed, so we did 71 rows. I've never actually known that in the past. Usually when you got a drill on the machine, it does have an internal counter on the AliExpress, but when you're rocking it and it's going that fast, it doesn't count. It doesn't count your rows. So now we know 70, 71, 72 rows approximately. And yeah, it did a really good job of putting out this swatch. So if you're looking at this machine, that's the AliExpress, and it's a Zest wrench motor for the machine itself. Pretty happy with it. I'm definitely not going to complain. Yes, it was a lot slower, but I think it was better for my machine. So 5 stars for now. All right, over to the caker. This is the Romarin caker. I would not go any other direction. Yes, it's quite expensive, but we do a lot of cakes here. So it's not your $15 Amazon kind of caker. This is closer to about $400. But I'm very happy with this machine, and it lasts forever. You probably get about 20,000 cakes out of a single machine without having too many issues. So I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing. I like to cake all of our colorways just to really look at the saturation across the colorway itself. You can see the beginning, the middle, and the end of the hank in a concise layout, right? So it really gives you an idea how that colorway played out across the hank and whether or not you got that dye down far enough. Before you release a colorway, always throw it on the caker, cake it yourself, and really look at it. If you've got where the center is dark or the center is really light, and then you get some shading or some fading out into other colors, that is a concern. But throwing in the light box here, we can see there's consistency all the way across the entire cake, and that's what we're looking for. You can also take a peek here, and you can really see how the colors are going to interact with each other without having to do a swatch. You never really know if you're going to get some spiraling or variegation or how it's really going to play out. But seeing in a cake, you can get a really good idea of how that's going to play out. All right, it is time to do some pairings. Up first, we have, of course, Happy Trails in their fingering weight. Now we're gonna go with a fade on this one. So I'm gonna start with Happy Trails, and we're gonna move all the way across. Up beside that, we've got Vitamin C. It's got that same speckling in it. So we've got the same purple, same pinks, same reds, same blues. They all kind of break out there. And I really find that these two go together. They're both really light colors. Vitamin C, on the other hand, kind of moves over into the blue side of things. So that's the direction we're going to go with this fade here. Up beside that, we have Summer Sway. Again, we're going with those pinks, those blues, but we're moving over into a green, and we got those same purple speckles in there. Absolutely love these speckles. As you can see, I've used them on a few colorways, but definitely not on all of them. So I would say, in all honesty, if I was going to put these two together, I think Summer Sway needs to go up against Vitamin C. I wouldn't necessarily trade out Vitamin C and Summer Sway. Up beside that, we have Dreamscape. So we're moving away from the speckles. We're moving into a bit of a darker blue, but we still have that same kind of light pink, light purple, little bit of white, moving into some darker grays. So we've moved away from the green. We've got some darker blues. Green's kind of moved over into the grays, like so. And we got this nice fade going from left to right. Now, up beside that, we have Here Comes the Sun. So we've got that same kind of purple, but this is saturated into the yarn itself, not a speckle. And then we move off into the blues, and then we got that really dark green. If you were only looking for 4, I might replace Dreamscape with Here Comes the Sun. I think that those would really play well over into the purples with just having that hint of blue in there. But if you're looking for a true 5-skein, Dreamscape, throw it in there between Here Comes the Sun and Summer Sway. Now, over into the semi-solids. I actually had some troubles picking out only 4 semi-solids on this one. And we're also going to grab a brand new one. I know, it's exciting, right? It's not very often I release a brand new colorway without actually telling people until we hit these videos. So up first, we've got Antique Rose. I feel that this one is probably one of the better choices for this colorway. It's got that nice light pinky purple, goes really, really well with the speckles in this colorway, and also with that nice light pink. Now, on the other side of things, this is the brand new one. This one is called Blushing Petals. It's kind of a hot pink, but I would say it moves more over into the blush side of things. So the reds, the rouge, it's not the hottest of pinks in the world. Like, I'm not thinking 80s. I'm thinking just a nice, pretty pink. And that one goes really, really well with the speckles as well. Now, up beside that, because we've got the dark speckles in here, I would probably consider Plum if you want to go on the dark side. Join the dark side. We have cookies. Sorry. Anyways, yeah, if you wanted to go on the darker, the more vibrant side of things, hit up that Blushing Petals, hit up the Plum. Those two would be great with this colorway. If you want to go with the lighter side of things, I would honestly consider like Ecru Undyed. There's a lot of white in this colorway. I know it's not coming through as white. And when I say white, I mean white wool. So Ecru color, basically undyed, kind of a yellowish cream. You mix that with the antique rose, and I don't know, these three just really pull it together. And then on the other side of things, you've got those nice, bright, vibrant colors. Myself, personally, I'm probably going to lean to the lighter side of things. I'm going to go with that Antique Rose and that Ecru Undyed with this one. But when you're talking about pinks, and the reason I struggled here is because pinks and grays go hand in hand, always. So if you wanted to swap it out for like a dark gray, you could definitely do that. And you could pull anything you want, whether it's that Blushing Petals in the dark gray, or even, pull the Ecru and put the dark gray in there. Probably a good idea. So from left to right, we got Fingering DK, Worsted, and Chunky. Chunky is in hiatus for right now until the fall. As always, swatch available on the website. Last photo of every single listing. And there's that big reveal. We got some cherry blossoms. We got that nice bright pink, nice stroll through the park. Some calmness, some loveliness. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you again next time.